would open the wave link just to verify that we're actually active, but we can
Okay, so test 1, 2, test 1, 2, it's there. And it's here. And how do I know that they're hearing me by this?
because that's the application receiving the audio signal.
Okay,
And you can do that real quick just to verify if you'd like.
so I can share the link.
Yep. Peace.
So are you here with us? You are here with us. Okay, that's great. Okay, everybody, we're a little early. I'm going to get off camera here for a minute. We've got about 10 minutes, 13 minutes before we start our YouTube live today. And so that is really exciting. And do you know how I would, if I want to just turn off the camera and the sound now briefly to give myself a break without getting out of it?
No. It's a good idea. Just click post-it note, perhaps?
Okay.
You could mute yourself and put a post-it on top.
I can do what?
You mute yourself, post-it on top of the camera.
Okay.
But that's
Good afternoon, everyone. We have a few minutes before we start, so welcome. I just was doing a sound check last week. As you recall, we couldn't get the sound, and so my son Richard was here helping me, and I'm seeing that the bar is moving, and so you should be hearing me. But just send me a message if you're having any trouble hearing me at all. Should be good. Hope you're having a good week. I am. Test 1, 2. Looks like that's good. Yeah. Test 1, 2. Oh, good. So Josh confirmed that it is working and that he can hear me perfectly. I'm really getting this. So the background on this is that, as you know, I do hypnotherapy and I work in a very busy clinic, and sometimes it's very noisy here. And so I've tried to create some sound strategies where I have headphones that people can put on and still hear me. Invariably, I was joking with the group here at Heads Up that invariably the only time that the landscapers want to blow the courtyard with the blowers, is when I'm trying to do a hypnosis session and it sounds like a tornado outside. And so I have really become clear that when I have a nice place and nice safe sanctuary, and so I've got some TV screens, and I've got a kind of a podcast thing that I'm trying to get set up. And what I didn't realize with every variable, and it is straight up 2 o'clock. So if you're just joining us, welcome. Um, it is 2 o'clock on the West Coast. It is Friday, May 15th. Dr. Patrick Scott here. I was talking about the sound, and I apologize. Last week, the sound I couldn't work, and I didn't realize that with each variable between, in person and Zoom and YouTube and the browsers and the phones and all that kind of stuff, that there needs to be specific settings for specific outputs and all the stuff that I don't understand. So, anyway, today it's been coming up a lot about, and I'm going to get pretty esoteric today. I did a podcast yesterday for Brittany King and Lisette King, and they were asking me a lot of questions about the other side, a lot of questions about um, kind of the collapsing timelines and what's going on in the world right now, and how do we manage all the energies that are coming at us, and so I think it's a really great question about if you've noticed that you're not sleeping, if you have headaches, if you're an empath. And of course, the trajectory is, wouldn't it be nice, given our environment, given what we're subjected to? And I don't mean this like a victim, but it's just, the world is complicated. And I do talk a lot about my mom and what she would do. She couldn't be bothered. She was a bourbon drinker and a cigarette smoker. And I don't know if she would engage like many of us are engaged with so much information. She just have a cigarette and have another bourbon and just be done with it and not be all, and so I always wonder for us, what is our physical body, what to I am having, I'm just to be really honest, I'm having a gout flare up. And if you know what gout is, it's a particular arthritic disorder with excessive uric acid crystals that form in a joint, and I have a very painful left foot right now. And I haven't had, now the good news is I haven't had a flare up for months. It might be 6 months, which is a lot for me. And it's very painful. It's difficult to walk, and I'm navigating that. Now, the question becomes, did I eat something? Did I drink something? Is it stress? Is it emotional? Is it metaphysical? Is it physical? Is it a mechanical injury? And again, I'm not trying to overcomplicate it, but I think it's a good question because people come to me all the time with aches and pains, and this came in and that came in. And again, the work that I do is on the physical, metaphysical plane. And people wonder, like, why all of a sudden the headache? Why do I go to this place and all of a sudden get dizzy and lightheaded and I have to sit down? What of our physiological responses are emotional? What of our physiological responses are energetic, are environmental? And think, I don't want to make this overly woo-woo, but I think it's a great question. Now, again, for me at my age, I have aches and pains, like everybody else. And I do sometimes wonder, like all of a sudden, overnight. One night last weekend, I had a burger and an old fashioned. So an old fashioned's a drink, and it has alcohol. It was just one shot or a shot and a half of alcohol in it. One drink, one burger. I hadn't had a burger in a long time. I don't have that much red meat anymore. Oh, it was so good. Oh my God, it was just, that it was so delicious, and the drink was so delicious. And I woke up the next morning, couldn't walk. Had this immediate physiological reaction. Now, the only thing I'm pairing it to is that. Um, to what degree are our physical responses tied to emotions, tied to somatic complaints, tied to our environment? And then broaden it out. I am not looking for an excuse for you to blame the sun, moon, and the stars for everything, but I think it's a worthwhile question to begin to look at when you are feeling. Let me just break it down really simply. Have you ever woken up on the wrong side of the bed with absolutely no reason? There is no conscious reason. There is no trigger, no particular new stressor. We've always got stresses going on, but there's nothing new. It's the same old thing. And I'm not trying to be defeatist about it. I'm just saying what I want us to take, we have to take 100% responsibility for what goes on in our body, what emotions. This is kind of gross, but bear with me. This was years ago, and I was getting, I like to get massage, and I get massage maybe once a month or something. And years ago, I had a friend. He was actually a friend who'd come over and give me a sports massage once a month. And I would pay him. He'd come to the house with his table. Well, I had this big, sorry pimple on my back, big zit. And I'm not, if you can tell my face, I don't have acne as a problem. And I remember he was kind of massaging around it, and I said, what is that? He goes, well, it's a pimple. And I said, and I just was upset, like, well, where is it coming? His name was William. So William, where is that coming from? What would, middle of my back, I couldn't reach it. I could see it in a mirror. I kind of secretly wanted him to pop it, but he didn't. And he got some alcohol, put some alcohol in it, put a Band-Aid on it. And his response was so authentic and honest, where he said, well, Patrick, it's coming from you. He didn't mean that as a slam. He didn't mean it as a judgment. It's just like, well, it's your body. It's coming out of you. I don't know. I'm a massage therapist. I'm not a dermatologist. And he wasn't trying to be defensive, but he said it was just, and I've never forgotten it, because think about it. So often we want to attribute, and I'm actually asking you to attribute what's going on out there to what's going on in here. As above, so below. Perception is projection. We talked about that last time. And when he said, well, it's coming from you, that's all he said. He didn't say it's your diet, it's your stress, it's a clogged pore, it's, who knows, it's coming from you. And so when people come into my office and they say, where is this stress coming from? Where is this negativity coming from? Why did I just wake up on the wrong side of the bed? And oh my God, where is this coming from? And it is provokes a little bit of ire sometimes when I say, well, it's coming from you, even though it's them, let's say, meaning there's somebody in your environment, you're having difficulty with a relationship, it's a pet that keeps you up all night, it's a baby that keeps you up all night, it's a job related thing, a work related thing, a money, on and on. We have these stressors. But the reality is the emotion, the trigger, not the trigger. The trigger is one thing, but the emotion, and I know this sounds overly simplistic, but I think we spend so much time trying to attribute outside of ourselves why we feel a certain way. And I do the same thing too. You hear me talking about the sun, moon, and the stars and the astrological configurations, the Schumann resonance, the burrito, the company I keep, all that sort of thing. And I think our job, on the planet to be enlightened or to be aware or to be awake is to take as much responsibility as we can for ourselves. Now, again, if you're watching me and you follow me, you're probably a caregiver, you're probably a helper, you're a therapist or a clinician of some sort or a coach. And all day long, people are coming to you with these questions. Why do I feel the way I feel? What is going on with me that has me feeling so bad or so terrible? And how do I raise my life condition? How do I raise my vibration? How do I? And then there's the counterintuitive part about my joke about, as you do the psychic development work and as you become more sensitive to energy and as you become more in tune and you get your physical body distractions out of the way by meditation. We're going to talk today about a foundational daily practice and kind of what I do and how to do it. To help with this. But the double-edged sword is, as I said to Brittany and Lisette yesterday on the podcast, I come from academia. I come from this brick school of psychic development where I didn't feel anything. I didn't notice anything. Aurelia's here. Welcome. Apparently she's a VIP member, which is all lovely. So they were asking me, give us a little bit of your history, your trajectory of how you went from being college professor, academician, researcher, scientist to now all of a sudden psychic intuitive, Kumu of Huna, teacher of spiritual matters and that kind of thing. And it's been, it took me a while. It didn't happen overnight. But this idea that when you start to awaken to these other energies, it can be very overwhelming. And so I do work with, there was a caller into the show yesterday that basically said, I'm noticing that in order for me to, when I'm drinking or when I'm using cannabis or some substance, I'm so psychic and I'm so wildly intuitive, but yet my walking around sober state, I'm not as intuitive, which I thought was a great question. And it makes sense. When we're using substances, any pick your substance, it helps us shut down the ego, shut down the conscious mind, kind of make more available to the unconscious mind. And this isn't new. This is what people use substances for, to get out of their head, to kind of experience more. Why people want to go on these trips to Peru and do ayahuasca and things like that is to get in touch with more spiritual matters. And I have no judgment about it. This woman that was calling in basically said, why is it that I can't access those same realms when I'm sober? And she said, my concern is, do I really have to be drunk or high or something in an altered state of consciousness in order to be intuitive or psychic? Now, in my own trajectory, I noticed that also, that when and I love wine, I love wine, I love my alcohol, and I love a little bit of cannabis now and then. And it does help until it doesn't, until it becomes the problem, which is the double-edged sword. The double-edged sword of becoming more awake to, and Michelle Burke, another VIP. We have 3 VIPs. We have Joshua Hayduk, we have Aurelie, and we have Michelle Burke as VIPs in our club, our very exclusive club. Welcome aboard. And so what's my joke is, the good news, congratulations, you're more sensitive to energy. Yippee. You wanted it. You wanted to be more sensitive. You wanted it to be more intuitive. You wanted to be able to read other people's things, access other realms. We have a class coming up called Realm Travels, where I just sit in a room for 4.5 hours and I read the group and I read individual and they ask questions, and it's all about the communication with the other side. Realm Travel. And that's coming up in June. It's June 13th, 14th, 15th, I think. 13th is the Friday, which is in San Diego, the beautiful crystal shop called Crystal Blue Vibrations. We did it there a couple months ago. Beautiful place. And then we have a 2-day psychic development workshop called STFU, which is shut the F up, because that's what gets you into those realms, is by reducing the chatter, Sorry, Aurelie says it's June 12th. So June 12th is Realm Travel, which is a 5-hour, 4 or 5 hour class, just readings. It's in the guise, if you've ever seen John Edward or Sylvia Brown or James Van Praagh or Matt Frazier or Tyler Henry, who are just doing readings. And so it's a 4 or 5 hour, it's 3 to 8, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 hour meeting where we do a group reading. I do individual readings. You get to ask questions. I communicate with your guides and whoever. And then that precedes a 2-day workshop, which used to be called Psychic Development, now called STFU, because I realized that all roads lead to just shutting up, get the conscious mind to quiet down. Now, whether you use substances to do that, or cannabis or alcohol or whatever, that's the byproduct. So congratulations, you're more sensitive. Now, I went through, and many of my folks are going through, that when you start to open up to those energies, you are more susceptible to energy. And my joke is, congratulations, you're more sensitive to energy, and congratulations, now you get to feel what it feels like to be more sensitive to energy, which means, my story about it. For years, I couldn't go to Costco on a Saturday. I couldn't stand Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, places, large crowds. My brother, years ago, when we first moved back to Minneapolis in 2016, I was just coming up with the psychic stuff. It was just starting to blossom in me. We went to the Minnesota State Fair. On any given day, 250,000 people. And you wouldn't think that. I mean, Minnesota, it's not a huge state. It's not California. Minnesota State Fair is a big deal, and I had a really hard time. I really did. And I remember my brother, who's very tall, he's about 6'5", 6'6", very large man, was looking over at this big building, and it was a sea of people, just as far as the eye could see. It was just people, And he said, "Well, let's go over to the ag building and go in there." And I went, are you nuts? It's packed. He goes, "Well, it's packed out here." Now, he's a foot taller than everybody else, so he can see everything. I'm not as tall as he is, but I'm pretty tall. And he just looked at me like, "You're at the state fair. Of course there are a lot of people." And I had a really hard time with all the energies, picking up on people, picking up on whatever. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what it is. All I know is that I was super uncomfortable. So I want you to reflect, given this talk today, I'm pointing at the clock, I don't know why, when you feel safest, when you feel safe and sound in your own skin, when are you most likely or more likely to feel anxious or triggered by an environment, a person, a circumstance? Because I think your work and our work together is to become so resilient. Because the question is, how do I be open to these energies? How do I be open to be more psychic, more intuitive, more aware of things? How do I help myself and others down the path, if you're a coach or a clinician of some sort, without getting slimed, without feeling anxious, without having panic attacks, without having your sleep interrupted? And I think that's the work. I know that's been the work for me, and it still is. That in there somewhere is a harmony where you can at will open your aperture. Now some of you I know walk around like big satellite dishes. You're just open to everything all the time, and it's overwhelming. So part of what we teach in STFU is how to close that aperture, and at will be able to be open through a series of exercises that we teach, and to close the aperture when you're not open for business, so that you're not walking around picking up on everybody and everything, and that you can go to Costco. And I'm happy to report lately, I'm going to say the last year or so, and I don't, people think I'm joking. Walmart, Costco, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods. I go to the Mall of America. I live very close to the Mall of America, about 10 minutes, the largest mall in the United States. And in the wintertime, this is Minnesota, you can't be outside. You're not, unless you're going out skiing or snowshoeing or cross country skiing, or you're building an igloo or an ice palace. you're not, it's too cold to be outside. So you're not walking, outside for very long. It would be the equivalent of walking outside in Las Vegas when it's 120 degrees here. Or you're in Phoenix and it's summertime and it's just so oppressively hot, you stay inside. Well, a great place to go, because the Mall of America is 4 levels, and you start, and I think it's like 1 point some miles around, 1.7 miles, I think, around. And so you can get a really nice walk by just doing the circuit, and it's very crowded. And for many years, it was just too much for me. It was just, I was picking up on everybody and everything. Same thing with Costco, same thing with Walmart, same thing with Trader Joe's. And my other example was Whole Foods. Now, my joke is they're angry because they're vegan and they should eat more and they have no body fat. That's kind of my joke. But the reality is, um, as I was developing more intuitive awareness and getting in touch with the other side and communicating with guides and becoming more aware of the larger picture, if you will, I didn't have good skills as to how to protect myself in those scenarios. Now I do. And so, what I teach in these classes coming up in June, and really all the classes I teach, HUNA levels 1 through 3, you can come to Hawaii for level 4. Uh, STFU, which is psychic development, realm travel. We're going to be doing an advanced psychic development class called PIMP, Psychic Integrated Mastery Program in Japan, premiering that in Japan in November. Very excited about that, which will be even more rigor around your work as an intuitive, as an empath, to be very healthy, to be very effective, to build your skills. But it is the juxtaposition of how do you protect yourself and still be open? How do you do the work you do and not be slimed? How do you walk around on this planet with what's going on now and not be influenced by your environment, by your family, by your coworkers? I came to the clinic the other day, this week, and there was a physical fight going on between two patients. I mean, it was a physical, like knockdown, drag out fist fight going on in the lobby. And you've heard teachers talk about what it's like to work in a psych hospital or an emergency room or a psychiatric clinic. I am in a psychiatric clinic right now, and we in HUNA have tools to protect ourselves and protect and to grid and to do energetic work around an environment. Just moved into a new townhouse in Minnesota. It's lovely. And while the boys and the crew was moving the furniture, I was cleansing. I was saging and smudging and chanting and doing grids and setting up energetic protection, salt, things like that. Not because I'm paranoid, at, really at all. I'm really not paranoid. But again, this somebody else had lived in that townhouse. There were smells that they did a very good job of cleaning it. They painted it, new carpet, new floors, new appliances. I mean, they completely gutted I mean, really renovated the place. It's beautiful. And there were still energies. Have you ever gone into a hotel room, where you're traveling and you kind of feel kind of like a funky energy, or you've gone to a gathering or a party at like a banquet room in a hotel or a conference center, and you can feel, that those rooms are used by lots of different people for lots of different reasons. And again, please hear me. I am not saying that you need to walk around, terrified of every little thing and everything that goes bump in the night. But I want you to take 100% responsibility that if you're having an issue, it's yours. You can blame, yeah, it really says the ick feeling in the rooms. Yeah. If you walk into a room and there's an ick feeling, that's something that others may not be picking up on, right? And so the idea is you take 100% responsibility, like, wow, I'm having this reaction. I'm having a gout flare up. Now, I think, and I really do believe part of it is metaphysical, that it's associated with anger and frustration, but I'm having a physical reaction. I'm taking medicine for it to help with the swelling and to help with the pain. And I may go to urgent care, this weekend. If it does not, it has been now 5 or 6 days. I'm looking at the calendar. It's been about 5 or 6 days, and I can barely walk. And it doesn't happen very often, but I'm going to keep ramping up the treatment options until I knock it out. I'm not into suffering. I'm not a martyr. I don't feel like suffering, that kind of thing. So I may go to urgent care. I have a very clear treatment plan. I could email my doctor and say, could you write a script for prednisone, a steroid, to help bring the swelling down. I'm not at that point yet. We'll see how I do, but I am flying early tomorrow. Flying is dehydrating, and all these things. So I want you to start to think about, just given this talk today, what does your body do? How does your body respond to environments, to people? And I'm going to keep saying this. This is not about paranoia. This is not about being, well, at its worst, there are people who are what is called agoraphobic. They don't leave their house because they're terrified of everything that's out there. And during COVID, I had a lot because I had a number of agoraphobic patients who, we would text between sessions, or we would get on Zoom. And they'd say, "See, I told you it's not, it's not safe to leave my house, COVID," and we would have a laugh about it. My goal is to help people live healthy, happy, normal, productive, generative lives. And so, as a result of listening and watching this YouTube live, I'd like you to self-evaluate, and I'm going to leave you with some questions. You know, what are some of the patterns, trends, and habits in my responses? What are some of the habits, patterns, and trends in some of my responses to the following? To people, you know, people have energies, whether you know them or not. Have you ever met someone and instantly not liked them? Have you ever met somebody and felt a thing, an ick feeling? Have you ever seen somebody you don't even know, but you just have a sense of familiarity? Now, I'm all over the map here, meaning you may have a strong affinity to some people. You may be attracted to them for a variety of reasons. You may have a sense of familiarity with a person. Uh, you know, that's unexplainable. You met them for the first time, and all of a sudden you feel like you've known them for forever. Right? There's that. Have you ever gone to a gathering and felt like you gotten, the word we use is slimed, where all of a sudden you're just not feeling well, you're dizzy, lightheaded, maybe nauseous. You got to kind of go get some fresh air. You got to go drink water, and I don't want you to be a hypochondriac, meaning I don't want you to get into the, oh my God, it's cancer, and oh my God, WebMD, what does this mean? But I would have you take a look at what are these environments where people are that you go to that might be influencing you, right? I've given you mine, and that's a good benchmark. And I'm happy to report, and I will probably go to Costco tomorrow to pick up some supplies, and I have no issue at all anymore because I've done my work. That I'm when I'm in Costco or Walmart or a busy place, I'm good at shielding and protecting myself and bubbling myself up so that I don't um, take on the energies of other people. And it's purposeful and it's conscious. I would love for it to get unconscious. Maybe that's my next level of growth, where I don't have to, kind of gird my loins and go, okay, I'm going to bubble myself up. I have symbols and things that we use in Huna to help me protect myself. Now I notice a distinct difference when I forget and I just waltz into the liquor part of Costco. Typically, I'm going to feel something. When I do the exercises and I do the protecting myself with the techniques that we teach, I will have a seamless experience with no untoward effects. So this is number one. I want you to look at what your body does around people, crowds, individuals, certain people. Now, I see a bunch of psychics online, YouTube actually, or Instagram, or even TikTok, saying, the 5 places I will not go as a psychic. And they list the 5 places they will not go. I would prefer that we all take as much ownership to say, I know I have to be more mindful when I go to these places, but that to avoid leaving your house for fear of being slimed or getting attacked or psychic attacked or whatever is probably not so helpful. I'm not there yet. There are places. A few years ago, my partner Rick took me to West Virginia, and there was an old asylum. It used to be called a sanitarium, and it was in ruins. It was an old, very big brick Gothic structure, kind of like you would see in the movies, a horror. Like they should film a horror movie there. and I wasn't comfortable. This was probably 7 or 8 years ago. I was not comfortable going there, and, he wanted to drive over there and just, like, get out of the car, walk through these ruins of this old psychiatric hospital from the 19th century, and I just was like, I we drove, onto the grounds, and I could feel things, and I was like, I'm just not comfortable." I wonder these days if when we go back to West Virginia, because he has family there, maybe I would be better now. Maybe I would be okay to do that. And now, obviously, if you know that you have certain reactions, and I've heard Gettysburg, on the East Coast area of Gettysburg, where the Battle of Gettysburg was fought, that there's a lot of energy there. I know Kensington Palace, where Princess Diana, she didn't die there, but that's where she lived, that there was this energy of grief around the gates where the people had placed the flowers. And, places have residual energy. I think that rather than be paranoid and be afraid and to avoid all these places, just to understand some patterns where that you'll light up, where that you'll have these kinds of feelings, and then work on that so that through the work we do or however you do it to get more resilient so that you're not. So the first thing I would look at is people. Second place I would look at is environments. Where do you go with or without people that maybe light you up? And obviously, it's cliche, but get in nature, get in the forest, put your feet in the water, put your bare feet on the grass, that kind of stuff. Very healthful. Well, the flip side is, where are places that you might go that are not so favorable or positive, that may not be healthful for you? Um, we would call them lower vibrational environments. And I would say, I mean, it's kind of obvious. One of the psychics that I watched said, under no circumstances should anybody ever go to Las Vegas. That's what she said. She says, I will never go to Las Vegas. I've never been to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a low vibrational place because of all the desperation and the gambling. I remember my friend from Ohio, Wayne, who I'd studied Huna with, came to visit me in Las Vegas, and he said, I really just want to see the strip. Can we just go down and see the strip, see some casinos? I'll never forget, we parked at Caesar's Palace, walked him in the self park, area where locals go, and we walked into the casino, and we weren't in there 5 minutes, and he goes, yeah, I got to get out of here. It was if you've been to Las Vegas, the Forum Shops. We were in the Forum Shops. It was a big shopping mall. Very nice shopping. We walked through the casino to get to the Forum Shops. We got about midway through the casino, and he just looked at me and goes, yeah, I can't be in here. I just can't. The energy is just too funky. It's not, I cannot be here. And I said, okay, we were in there 5 minutes. We turned around and found our way back to the car and left. And that is, and apparently Tiffany is on. Hello, Tiffany. And so, but I want you to know you. I happen to live in Las Vegas. I'm in Las Vegas right now. And again, I also live in Minnesota, and I live a lot of places, but I'm finding the places that I love. I love San Diego. I love Hawaii. And now I've been to places in Hawaii that are really gnarly with energy, sacred sites and burial places and ritual places. I've been to places here in Las Vegas and in Nevada, very sacred, very generative. Mount Charleston, where we hold our Huna trainings. I went to Red Rock Canyon for a photo shoot the other day. Beautiful. And so please don't write off Las Vegas that it's, although there is more sin per square inch than anywhere else in the world, I'm told. And my joke is that it's the spiritual center of the universe. I want you to be in control. I want you to be in charge. Now, if you know that you can't handle Walmart on a Sunday afternoon, then obviously don't go. But I would love for us together to be able to modulate our energy to be in charge, to not be at the effect of or to be the victim of, but to be actually in charge of our energy. So, number one is people. Number two are environments. Number three are, I guess, situations. I have a choice as to who I work with, and I have a choice of what clients I work with. I have a choice of what classes I teach. I have a choice about this clinic. And this is I'm sorry, if you came to Heads Up, it's a beautiful place. I could show you. I'm sitting in my new office. I've got a beautiful view of the courtyard. I like it. And I walked in yesterday or day before and to a physical altercation, and I had to get involved, and the negativity. And again, if you work in hospitals, if you're a nurse or a doctor and you're now your chosen profession, hopefully you can figure out a way to modulate your own responses. But we have good days, we have bad days, right? I've worked with a lot of casino dealers, a lot of pit bosses, a lot of valet parkers, a lot of people in the service industry here in Las Vegas. It's their job. I don't think they would say that because they're in the casino all day, every day, that it's toxic and horrible. It's their job. I've worked with, pardon me, but I've worked with dancers. I think you know what I mean. Dancers, sex workers. I was the therapist for Cirque du Soleil for a number of years because I speak French. And I think anything you do. So this idea that we should avoid stress at all costs, I think it's the stress that builds us up. Two kinds of stress. One is distress that you hear about, meaning that it's difficult for the body to process. But there's also eustress, EUSTRESS. Tapping in late big picture. What are we talking about? We are talking about managing yourself in the environment and taking 100% ownership for your reactions to things and be intellectually curious about why am I responding in this environment to this thing? Why am I responding to this kind of a person this way? Instead of doing the blame game and saying, well, it's obvious, I can't be around my family, or I can't go to Walmart, or I need to stay away from Costco on a Saturday. Now, you may choose that, but my goal here, Tiffany, is to help us go, you know what? I'm taking 100% responsibility for my energy. If I know that I'm going to not feel well, it's not like anything else. If I know that if I drink too much, I'm not going to feel well the next day, I'm not going to drink as much, right? Same thing with managing your energy. If you know that by going to a certain environment or around a certain group of people or a certain place, that it's going to just have a negative impact on you. Some people would say that's a limiting decision, but I believe that we are under the influence of different energies, and that we need to manage ourselves and where we go. But I'm not going to go as far to say, don't ever come to Las Vegas. Don't ever go to New York City, Times Square. Don't but because I think that's how people develop agoraphobia, where they just kind of shut down to everything and believe that nothing is safe. Oh, Riley Burris is here. We had so much fun in Vegas after Huna. Vegas is a great place. It really is. Um, so environments, people, situations. Now, if you work in situations that are toxic, quote unquote, you get to modulate your energy. What's this bunch of cliches around this stuff? One person's trash is another person's treasure. We can change poison into medicine. That whole thing. So I want you to look at and self-evaluate your responses. Now, from the holistic, in the literal sense of the word, I want you to look at every physical and emotional response you have. If you go back to the four bodies and the three selves, we have a physical body. I would like you to be curious about what goes on in your body. I would like you to go, wow, this is odd. I'm having this pain or this ache or this sensation or this awareness in the physical body. I mean, literally a twitch, chicken skin, goosebumps, a warmth, a coolness, whatever it is. And it's not like you have to find the answer, but you should at least be asking the question like, wow, that's interesting. My joke in class when I'm doing readings, when I first started becoming more intuitive, I would have physiological sensations, and I would joke. I was like, "Is this a psychic hit, or is it the burrito?" I don't know. I'm much more attuned now to know when I'm having a physiology, whether is it mine or not. Is it from something I've eaten or done, or you go to the gym, you work out, you get sore. That's not a psychic attack. It's called exercising your muscles. And so I'd love for you all to be more physically aware and not be as paranoid as like, oh, I'm being psychically attacked, but just be curious about what goes on in your physical body. Second level is emotions. How do you know the emotions are yours? Have you ever had tears that you knew were not yours? where you have the waterworks are happening, but you don't have the concomitant emotion. And that's a clue. That's a clue that maybe you're picking up on somebody else's emotions. So be absolutely that, because your emotions are valuable information for you to figure out what's going on, right? Number three, your thinking. Now, for some reason in my feed, I've been seeing all these YouTube videos on signs of high IQ, signs of high intelligence, signs that you don't fit in, signs that you're a special person. Apparently, I'm special, so special, short but special. You know, what's going on with your thinking? It is said that those with high IQs tend to think more and ruminate more, and that they will pick apart a scenario or a sentence or a conversation, and they'll ruminate on it and analyze it for every which way. I've certainly done that. And so, what's going on with your thinking? Are you able to quiet your mind? Do you have rituals that you use to quiet your mind and get calm and slow down this, create more space at least between the thoughts? Oh, I'm doing this thing. Sorry. And then finally, how do you, I'm going to talk about five bodies like we do at STFU. How do you know what's a spiritual connection? What's an intuitive hit? What's a psychic attack, if there is such a thing? I don't know that I've ever been. No, that's not true. I've been slimed. I've gone into energies and I felt bad, physical, like felt dizzy and feel like I have to throw up by virtue of some energy in an environment. Um, So what's going on? How do you know the difference between an intuitive read, an intuitive hit, and somebody else? Is it a dead relative? Like when somebody's getting your attention, how do you know when you are feeling spiritually connected? Connected to the universal consciousness. That typically should feel pretty good, but it can feel pretty overwhelming. Um, do you have a belief system where you believe that you can be psychic attacked? I don't really, meaning I know that there's people that are out there that are evil, that if given the chance will do evil things, but I don't walk around every day going, "Oh, I'm so paranoid. What if somebody attacks me?" I've dealt with some pretty gnarly entities and beings, and I feel like I can handle pretty much anything. I do get tired. I'm human. I have a physical body. I get tired, just like the rest of us. I'm doing better, than ever. And so I'd have you evaluate on all of those axes, just to be curious. Like, wow, that's interesting. I have this weird arm pain. I wonder what that's about. Not like you may get an answer, but I would have you hang out with it, and also, reach out, ask for help, that kind of thing. Somebody says, "Oh, this is Tiffany. It's a sign you have a high IQ." Well, I have a high something. Thank you. Um, so, how do you do this? Let's talk about it. I believe in foundational daily practice, and I used to get a lot of pushback on this. I don't anymore. I have. It takes a lot to support this. I'm not even joking. A lot of the people on the call today are very supportive of me, and I love you all for that. But yeah, I have a trainer, and I have all sorts of doctors and all sorts of clinicians, and I have a therapist, and I have a psychic reader, and I have all these people that help me. And so while you may not want to have a huge, abundance of people, you have the ability to manage yourselves. And so one of the things I've been very open with, and that I've been very open with, is getting to the gym. And I'm continuing. I do go to the gym. I just don't go as often as I would like. And I don't have any excuse. There's no excuse. The excuse I would say is just laziness, that I just would rather be quiet and journal and meditate and drink coffee in the morning. I have plenty of time. I have orchestrated a life where I have plenty of time in my day to do everything I want. And that's hard won. I mean, I own this business, and I'm able to, you can probably say, be upset with me, but I only really work about 5 or 6 hours a day these days. I spend increasing time alone. I spend increasing time doing reflective kinds of things. And I just find that the more intuitive I've gotten, the more time I need alone, where I'm not talking, where I'm not listening, where I'm not engaged with other people. And so I do that. And I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of the life that I've crafted, and I still get tired. Um, So, some sort of a foundational daily practice, and I'm going to outline one for you today, and then we're going to conclude. I would like each of you to come up with a purpose statement. Now, this is no small thing. You can Google it, just how to craft a purpose statement for your life. There's some really great stuff there, and AI is really helping. And they can even give you examples. My life's purpose is I create environments of safety where transformational change and healing occur. And if you look at every single thing I do, every single thing, all day long, all the different activities I do, that's consistent. It doesn't matter who I'm working with. It doesn't matter where I'm working. It doesn't matter in what context. I work in a very Western medical model. I work in a very Eastern Buddhist model. I work in a very Hawaiian Huna model. I work in a very esoteric psychic development realm. And in every single realm that I work that I exist, I do my very best. Even in social situations, I try to create safety. And that's just consistent. So I would have you look at, what's your deal? Now, your life purpose can be very broad. It can be I spread love, or I am joy, or I radiate abundance, or whatever it is. Or it can be more specific around more career-based things. But I always start every morning with reaffirming, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Number two, release work. We have a number of tools in the Huna tradition, Ho'oku'u, Ho'oponopono, and I will do some version of release work to let go. Now, if you do Reiki, or if you have just certain meditations or apps or things you can use, but I think it's important to check in with your body at least once a day and release whatever negativity is no longer needed by the body, right? We have a lot of programs for that if you'd like to join us. Number three, engage in a repetitive activity that you enjoy that has some movement, nature, exercise, dog walking, outdoor, fresh air, indoor movement, something, Pilates, yoga, that kind of thing, meditation. If you're already doing a workout, then, do your workout. If you already walk your dog, then walk your dog. If you already do, self-healing with Reiki, and Aurelia's capturing this. This is great. So release work. And then third is the activity of your choice. It can be journaling. It can be outdoors, nature. It can be meditation. It can be Tai Chi. I try to combine a number of things. I always journal every day, and I do some sort of movement, at least stretching, and I do a meditation, at least 15, 20 minutes of meditation. And so, like that. And then number four, some sort of a connection with a larger construct. Like, some would say, well, that's meditation, but I would like to get your head out of yourself and do your best to connect with your higher self, with spirit. If you're Christian, that's God and Jesus. If you're Buddhist, and so on. But some sort of religious, more spiritual connection. That's number four. And then I would have you close your foundational daily practice with reaffirming your purpose statement. So it's 5 steps. Now, it can take between 4 and 20 minutes, between 4 and 7 times a week. Now, listen carefully. Notice this is not about perfection. This is about, I've told you, do my best work in bed. A lot of this stuff I do before I get out of bed. I don't get out of, I will lay there and I'll consider my purpose statement. I will do some release work in bed, where I'll wake up, I'll do a scan, I'll go, oh, yeah, that thing yesterday, or that thing last night, or that person, or that energy, or I'll just be really transparent about what is the energy that I'm feeling, and I will release it. Then I'll get up and make coffee and go journal and do some of the other things. But this shouldn't take hours. You shouldn't be doing a foundational practice, because if it's going to take 4 hours for you to do your practice, you're not going to ever do it. So make it 4 to 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes max if you're including exercise, and then 4 to 7 days a week. Ideally 7, but if you can't do 7, you do 4. And so I'm actually, in terms of working out, I'm working up to 4. I'm right now at about 2 days a week in the gym. I don't have an excuse. I would be fairly transparent. My only excuse is I just not so motivated. I'm not that person that bounces out of bed that wants to go to the gym and lift weights. That's just never been me. I keep waiting. I thought when I would lose weight, that I would have. Now to be fair, when I have lost a lot of weight and I am more energetic and I have more energy, and the inspiration to go running or to go lift weights is not happening. And so I don't even want to say I struggle with it. It's just a fact. And so I do it anyway. And that's what I'm hearing from a lot of my athlete friends. Well, I don't ever want to go to the gym either. I just do it. I just do it anyway. Like what's the Nike saying? Just do it. So I'm waiting for some divine inspiration, like I'm going to wake up one day and feel, super pumped and motivated to go to the gym. And I continue to wait. I'll keep you posted. That you can commit to a foundational daily practice, I think, then fold in your observations. For those of you that are light workers and work with other people, your own care and feeding of yourself. And so I'll leave you with this. If you're having resentment's a very powerful negative emotion. It's actually a version of anger. And so if you are doing things for people that they could and should be doing for themselves and you're resentful about it, I'm not talking about doing your acts of service with your clients, but have you look at your level of resentment. If you have any resentment toward friends or family member or colleagues where you feel like you're really carrying them, they're not pulling their weight, take a look at that and try to change that. Um, I think that's enough for today. So coming up June 12th is Realm Travel, 5-hour class, San Diego, Crystal Blue Vibrations. June 13th and 14th is STFU. Those are 2 6-hour days. The specific techniques about enhancing your intuitive awareness. We have certainly monthly Ho'oku'u. We have a monthly master class. You can find all this on the website, drpatrickscott.com. And then in July, we have our level 3, our first ever level 3 class, which is almost sold out. If you qualify for level 3 and would like to join us, I think we have 5 seats left. And so that's going to sell out. And so you have till I know it's way ahead of time, but it's been a very popular course. So sign up immediately. You can find that under drpatrickscott.com/live events. We've got some cool things in August. I'm doing a children's program in August in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's not open to the public. Well, maybe it is open to the public. I think it is. And then, of course, HUNA in September. We've got October level 1 and 2. If you want to start your HUNA training, you can do that with me. And of course, everything that I teach is also available in Hawaii with Kumu Matt's organization, and we work in tandem. And it all counts, meaning you can do level 1 with me, level 2 with him, level 3 with me, level 4 with him, and so on like that. Highly recommend Kumu Matt's. And Riley apparently is going to be at level 3, so that'll be really fun. We're going to be at a new location. We're in San Diego County in a more inland place. We found some sacred sites that I wanted to get a different Native American kind of feel. And so if you know anybody that qualifies for level 3, you must have done level 2 somewhere in the world to get to come to this class, either with Kumu Jane, Kumu Dave in the UK, Kumu Tomoy in Japan, Kumu Karen in Hawaii, Kumu Matt in Hawaii, or me here in Las Vegas. You qualify for level 3. Level 3 is a 5-day training. It is in person only. We did, and some of you were on the online level 1, and I met with one of the students just yesterday, or day before, that was on the online level 1, and she said it was life altering. It was 4 days, 4 intense days, over 2 weekends, but she said it was life altering, and I'm glad that we can offer at least level 1 online. It's intense. It's 9 days of training into 4 10-hour days, but you get certified at the first level of HUNA from your own home. And she said there was something about just being at home that made it really safe. And of course, the group was really great, and everybody was super engaged and super dialed in. And she just couldn't stop raving about it. And she's signing up for level 2 in the fall, in October. Levels 2, 3, 4, and above are all in person. There is no opportunity at all. Nowhere. You will not, at least not yet. We do not have permission to teach anything but level 1 virtually. And so just because of the energy and some of the rituals. And Huna Level 1 virtual was an incredible experience for me. And I'm really glad. And I again, was a bit old-fashioned. I was like, "Gee, can we do it? Will the energy transfer? Will people be able to feel it? Can we do the exercises?" And we really I think it works. It really works, and I'm really proud of it, and we're proud of the way that we've created the availability of stuff online. I know for me these days, I love going to conferences, and I have to get a lot of CEUs for my licenses, and it is nice to be able to do some stuff online. You know, for me, it's just a matter of my focusing my attention and managing distractions and managing creatures in the house and all that stuff. But I do love both in-person trainings, and I do love being able and having the opportunity to do things virtually. Okay, you kids, lovely to see you. Huna 2 in person was great, and Huna in general has also been incredibly life altering for me in the most positive way. So grateful. Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate that. Okay, you guys have a great weekend. I fly tomorrow to Minnesota, and we'll be continuing that. We're setting up a new household, and I'm really excited about that. So have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.